Brent Venables says he has even more respect for John Matir during his presser, and Ben Arbuckle kind of echoed that sentiment. Why? Let's talk about why. I'll explain what they talked about. We even play a clip of BV and Ben Arbuckle kind of addressing the situation and dive into what we need to get out of John Matir going forward. So let's dive into that. Before we do that, welcome to Unfair Sports. I'm your host, Jay. Thank y'all for pulling up to the channel. This video is powered by our partners over at Sleeper. If you're not checking them out for daily fantasy sports, you're missing out. Use our promo code UNFAIR, and they're going to hook you up with $20 just for signing up and match your first deposit. Use our promo code UNFAIR. So Brent Venables and Ben Arbuckle had their weekly presser in preparation for South Carolina. And, you know, they're doing everything they need to do to prep. Practice-wise, yesterday, John Matir addressed the media, and he talked about how he just needs to, you know, be better. He has to play better. He has to do things better. And, you know, we kind of know that, right? Like, you know, Captain Obvious here. You threw 3 interceptions. We have an understanding that you need to get better. But BV as well as Ben Arbuckle talked about John Matir, and Brent Venables had some really strong words to say. He said at the utmost, even more respect for him. And I thought it was kind of fascinating as to why. So let's dive into that real quick.
Yeah, so Coach, this is obviously the first time you've had a chance to see John Matir lead after a loss.
Yeah.
What have you seen from him since then? How is he handling it?
Yeah, no, I got even more respect for him. You know, you want to carry all the weight for all your guys, but you can't do that. That's part of their responsibility, and he wants to take the whole team on his back, and that's not fair to him at all. And so try to help him with his perspective. I think is important. And again, shoulder. If you don't play to, you know, a standard, shoulder it. You know, it shouldn't be any different than a Mike linebacker or defensive end or the kicker. You know, that isn't any different. But that position does require, a little more weight.
And so hearing Brent Venables say that, and how he's just so much more respect for him and shouldering the load, you know, John Matir has gone out there with, he's showing the leadership that you need to show. Now, I know a lot of you are, you know, somewhat down, you know, on him, and I get it. I understand. I can respect the fact that, you know, we're concerned that we're not getting the offense that we're hoping for. But the good thing is, as Brent Venables mentioned, that Matir told coaches that he needs to be more patient and he needs to make better decisions. And he's shouldering that load. And as Brent Venables mentioned in the presser, that, I mean, that's a lot to be putting on one person, but John wants it. And it's funny because it makes me think about how, like I was talking to somebody, I'm going to pull the curtain back. I was chatting with somebody about, and it was a parent was kind of talking about how John just hasn't even still fathomed just how big of a deal it is to be the quarterback at the University of Oklahoma. I know, right? You would not have expected that out of somebody that, you know, being the quarterback here. He just didn't fathom just how big it was until the tortilla presser situation went down. And that's when he really realized, oh, this is a real deal. Like, this is huge. This is a massive thing. And I need to make sure that, you know, I'm on my P's and Q's and I'm making things happen. And so that game hit him a lot harder than y'all think, right? And we'll talk about that in a minute with Ben Arbuckle on how John's his harshest critic, but BV saying that not only him being a humble guy, but also taking ownership and taking the shoulder of this is exactly what we were hoping for. He didn't make any excuses. He didn't point any fingers to anybody else. He said, it's me. And that's going to help the team want to rally around him. All players like rally around a dude that's going to say, hey, man, that's on me. Let me fix this. And somebody mentioned to me before on Twitter that this is like John Matir's version. They felt like, as I made a post, he posted a picture. There was a picture posted of his quote saying that he's got to be better. He's going to be focused. He's going to be determined and everything. And somebody said this could be his Tim Tebow moment, right? This could be the moment where he, like Tim Tebow did for Florida, and he said that no one's going to work harder than me. Nobody's going to be more dedicated. Nobody's going to put in more hours than me. Nobody's going to do this. Nobody's going to do that than me. And he was going to go out there and really put it all together for the team. And so that's kind of what it felt like. It felt like he was kind of giving us that type of speech. And so I'm hoping that John Matir does go out there and makes the magic happen with that he continues to find the strain, as BV says, to push and make sure that he's making better decisions. Watch the film, see where people are open. Ben Arbuckle was drawing everybody up. Your eyes got to see it. And John knows that. And that's the thing I appreciate the most. And, like I said, BV talked about him telling the coaches that he needs to get better and he's going to take ownership of it. That makes me feel like, all right, I think that this team has the opportunity to bounce back. So let me know what y'all think. Hop in the comments. We definitely want to hear y'all's thoughts. All right, I want to talk about what Ben Arbuckle had to say just a minute. First, I want to make a couple picks. I want to shout out to our partners here at Sleeper. Like I said, if you're not using it for daily fantasy football, you are missing out. They're hooking up the people. They're going to give you $20 just for signing up. And if you want to make a deposit, use our code UNFAIR. They're going to match your first deposit at 100% up to $100. And so, like, when we look at picks for ourselves, one of the big things, of course, for me is I'm trying to get a hold of some wins. So they've got some great, they of course give you big boosts. You can reuse those when you win. And right now it's an NHL, which is pretty dope. You can check that out. So NHL fans, feel free to jump in the game. But your free pick for Sunday, they got a Nick Bonito one. Bo Nix. See if I can find a Nick Bonito. But they even have like combos and stuff. So I'm going to pick something in the NFL. We're going to pick for Thursday night, give me less on the DK Metcalf touchdown because I don't think that Aaron Rodgers is going to throw it to him. But I do think he can throw for over 220 yards in that game. I'm also going to lay hands on Jamar Chase I think he'll score a touchdown this weekend. But Jaylen Warren, give me less on him. We won't swap the promo. We'll keep this promo going. But, again, you pick two or more players, pick more or less, win up to $1,000. So check them out. Use our promo code UNFAIR. They're going to give you a match on your first deposit up to $100 at 100%. And they're going to give you $20 just for signing up, man. So check them out. Support the show. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. Now, Ben Arbuckle also had some things to say about John Matir and his mindset coming out of that game. This is what Ben had to say.
So, Matir hasn't had too many games like the one he just had. What do you see in him in terms of his mental makeup that will allow him to prepare to bounce back from that?
The first thing that you see with his mental build and his mental makeup, one is that he's the ultimate competitor, and he is his harshest critic, and he knows that stuff that he did on last Saturday wasn't what winning requires. And so he does a really good job of resetting his mind, getting back to the basics, whether it's his footwork or his reads, and really honing in on that and cleaning that up and making sure he's very intentional with that in practice. But, also with that in his mental makeup build is he's a great leader. He had great juice yesterday at practice, and he owns anything that might not go the offense's way, whether that's his fault or not. And I think that's a really good characteristic in a young man and a leader. And so his mental makeup is strong, and I'm excited to watch him attack this week of work.
Now, the mindset coming out of that is, yeah. Everybody's giving it the mental piece, right? And for Ben, he said his concern isn't the physical, it's the mental side. He wants him to – he's the harshest critic of himself, but he also wants him to pay attention and understand that there's more to it than just, what we know John's going to be. Don't overthink it too much. And so his message, he's going to give him that mental reset, and he's going to help him to focus and be good with his play. And I know that Ben's going to, of course, Ben trusts John Matir's capabilities, and he knows that John can perform. And so now we just got to put it in this man's lap and let him go out there and perform. Like I said, we know he can do it, so there's no concerns about him being able to do it. He just needs to go out there and produce it, right? And it's understanding that you can't make those kind of mistakes. Can't make the 3 interceptions like that. You got to calm those down. Now, I mean, I kind of warned y'all going into the season. He's a gunslinger, so you're going to get those. But he's going to have to cut that down, in which I think he will. I think we should be fine going forward. And we said this going into the season, that the only thing we needed was a competent offense. The defense could carry us to W's. The defense played good enough, even with their mistakes, for us to do something. If we had a competent offense, we could have won that game. And now we're going to have to keep that going. Teams are going to key in on that. They're going to try to keep the defense on the field for as long as possible. We got to get to the short game. We've got to start not missing wide open guys. And I think John Matir recognizes that. And so I'm not beating him up on it. I'm pointing out some of the things that even he said he's got to pay attention to, and that Ben Arbuckle as well as Brent Venables has pointed out. So I expect a much better performance out of John Matir this weekend against South Carolina. We're going to look at the numbers right now, where he's sitting at in the season. A little bit later this week, we'll also break down the defense, because right now the defense is still playing lights out ball, but just them playing outside of their character against Texas really hurt them. And it still feels like to me that this defense looked at this Texas game and said, they're not very good. We're just going to go ahead and kick them more while they're down, without realizing that Texas was desperately needing this win to keep themselves on track, just mentally. It's going 0-2 in the conference to start. That's a struggle, right? That's a big hill to crawl, and I knew that Texas was going to find a way to make sure they can not be in that situation. So let me know what y'all think. Hop in the comments. We want to hear your thoughts. How you feeling about John Matir now? You've got to see him in a bad game, an actual bad game. We're going to rally around him. I'm really hoping that you all are there for that. Want to hear your thoughts. Shout out to our partner, Sleeper. Again, check them out. Support the show. Use our promo code UNFAIR. Get in there. Make some magic happen. And win you some monies. And we'll have some more videos. Like I said, come down the line. We'll talk about the defense. We'll talk about the running back room, because they addressed that in the presser. And me and John are definitely talking about that on Locked On Sooners tomorrow. So you'll have a double dose of that and a lot of thoughts. So we'll talk soon. Peace.